The weight of words. The flour dusted Violet's apron like fresh snow as her hands worked the dough with practiced precision. Through the bakery window, morning light painted golden streaks across the display cases filled with her creations. Each pastry was a small masterpiece, delicate cream puffs, glossy fruit tarts, chocolate eclairs that gleamed like jewels. Yet when customers entered, their eyes rarely met hers with the same appreciation they gave her desserts. Violet Monroe had grown accustomed to the sideways glances and whispered comments that followed her everywhere. At 26, she carried extra weight on her 5'4" frame, and the world never let her forget it. But here, in the warm sanctuary of butter and sugar, she found peace. Her hands could create beauty even if the mirror refused to show her any. The bell above the door chimed. 3 women entered, designer handbags swinging from their thin wrists. Violet recognized them from the upscale boutiques downtown. They approached the counter, faces buried in their phones, barely acknowledging her presence. "I'll take 2 macarons," the blonde one said without looking up. "The lavender ones. They're for my daughter's birthday." Violet carefully placed the delicate cookies in a small pink box, tying it with ribbon she'd hand-selected that morning. "These are made fresh this morning with real lavender from local gardens. I hope your daughter loves them." The woman finally glanced up, her gaze traveling from Violet's face down to her rounded middle, then back up with thinly veiled disgust. "I'm sure she will. At least someone here knows restraint around desserts." Her friends laughed. The sound cut through Violet like a blade she'd felt 1,000 times before. Violet handed over the box with steady hands, though her heart trembled. "That'll be $8. Have a beautiful day." The women left, their laughter trailing behind them like poison. Violet exhaled slowly, gripping the counter's edge. She'd survived worse. Much worse. Her mind drifted to childhood playground taunts, to high school dances where boys made bets about who would be cruel enough to ask her out as a joke, to her father leaving when she was 12, telling her mother he couldn't bear to watch his daughter let herself go. Every memory was a stone added to an invisible weight she carried that had nothing to do with her body. "Don't let them steal your light." "Sweetheart?" Her mother's voice pulled Violet back to the present. Diane Monroe emerged from the back room, her graying hair pulled into a neat bun, her seamstress tape measure draped around her neck like always. "You're worth 10 of those hollow women." "I know, Mama." Violet forced a smile. "It just gets heavy sometimes." Diane squeezed her daughter's shoulder. "Speaking of heavy, I have something for you." She produced an elegant cream envelope from her apron pocket. "Mrs. Whitmore, one of my clients, gave me 2 tickets to the Ashford Foundation Charity Gala next Saturday. Black tie event at the Grand Meridian Hotel. I thought maybe you'd like to go." Violet's stomach twisted. "Mama, no." "You know I can't go to something like that." "Why not?" "You're talented, intelligent, and more beautiful than any woman who'll be in that room." Diane's eyes blazed with maternal defiance. "I raised you to never shrink yourself for anyone's comfort. That's different from walking into a room full of people who'll judge me before I take 2 steps inside. Then make those 2 steps count." Diane pressed the envelope into Violet's hands. "Live, baby girl, please. Life's too short to hide behind ovens forever, no matter how magical your pastries are." Violet stared at the envelope. The embossed gold lettering seemed to mock her. But somewhere beneath the layers of fear and old wounds, a tiny spark of defiance flickered. Maybe her mother was right. Maybe it was time to stop apologizing for taking up space. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll go." The week passed in a blur of anxiety and determination. Diane worked miracles with fabric, creating a custom gown in deep emerald that flowed over Violet's curves like water. The color made her hazel eyes luminous and her chestnut hair rich as autumn leaves. Saturday evening arrived too quickly. Violet stood before her bedroom mirror, barely recognizing herself. The woman reflected back looked regal, powerful even, but the scared girl inside remained unconvinced. "You are enough," she told her reflection firmly. "You have always been enough." The Grand Meridian Hotel blazed with crystal chandeliers and champagne bubbles. Violet's heels clicked against marble floors as she entered the ballroom, her mother's hand tight in hers. Immediately, heads turned. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wind through wheat. Violet lifted her chin. She'd expected this. She'd prepared for this. "Let's find the dessert table," she murmured to her mother. "At least the food won't judge me." They navigated through clusters of glittering guests, Violet feeling every stare like physical touch. Near the elaborate dessert display, she finally exhaled, admiring the architectural sugar sculptures and delicate petit fours. "The chocolate torte looks exceptional," a deep voice said beside her. "But I'm betting nothing here compares to what you create at Monroe's Bakery." Violet turned, startled. The man standing next to her was tall, perhaps 6'2", with dark hair silvered at the temples and eyes the color of warm amber. His tuxedo fit perfectly across broad shoulders, and his smile held genuine warmth rather than polite distance. "You know my bakery?" she asked cautiously. "I have a serious addiction to your raspberry croissants." He extended his hand. "Marcus Ashford. I'm usually there before dawn on Thursdays when you make them fresh." Violet shook his hand, confused. Marcus Ashford, the name on the gala invitation, the millionaire tech entrepreneur whose foundation funded children's hospitals across the state. And he knew her bakery? "I didn't realize I had such distinguished customers at 5 in the morning," she managed. "The best things in life happen early." His eyes held hers without wavering, without that subtle scan up and down she'd learned to recognize as judgment. He simply looked at her face, present and attentive. "I'm Marcus, by the way. Forgot my own introduction. Violet Monroe. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman." Before Violet could respond, a sharp voice cut through their conversation like breaking glass. "Marcus, darling, there you are." A willowy blonde in a silver gown that probably cost more than Violet's monthly rent materialized beside them. She was stunning in that effortless way that made Violet feel like a different species entirely. The woman's blue eyes raked over Violet with undisguised contempt. "I see you're chatting with the help. How charitable of you." Violet's face burned. She recognized this woman, Sophia Winters, the fashion model whose face graced magazine covers and billboard advertisements. Marcus's expression hardened. "Sophia, this is Violet Monroe, owner of the finest bakery in the city and my guest this evening." "Violet, this is Sophia Winters, someone who clearly forgot her manners." "Guest?" Sophia laughed, the sound brittle and cruel. "Marcus, really? Everyone's already talking about the fat girl who somehow got an invitation. Surely you're not actually entertaining." "Stop!" Marcus's voice dropped to ice. "You need to walk away, now." Sophia's perfect face twisted with shock, then rage. "You can't be serious. Look at her. She's..." "Stunning," Marcus interrupted firmly. "Talented, and infinitely more interesting than you've been in the 3 years I've known you." He turned to Violet, extending his hand with old-fashioned gallantry. "Violet, would you honor me with a dance?" The ballroom seemed to hold its breath. Violet felt hundreds of eyes boring into her back. Sophia's face flushed crimson with humiliation. Her mother squeezed her hand encouragingly. Violet looked at Marcus Ashford, this powerful stranger who was offering her more than a dance. He was offering validation, visibility, choice. "Yes," she said clearly. "I'd love to." His hand was warm in hers as he led her onto the polished floor. The orchestra began a waltz, and Marcus pulled her gently into his arms. His touch respectful but sure. "You realize everyone's staring," Violet whispered as they began to move. "Let them stare," Marcus murmured. "They're witnessing something they don't understand yet. A man recognizing a woman's true worth." "You don't even know me. I know you wake before dawn to create beauty for strangers. I know you use fair trade chocolate and locally sourced ingredients. I know you give day-old pastries to the homeless shelter every evening." His amber eyes searched hers. "I know enough to want to know everything." Violet's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. "Why?" "Because I've spent years surrounded by people who look perfect but feel empty. Then I walked into your bakery 6 months ago and watched you hand a crying child a free cookie, telling her that sometimes we all need a little sweetness when the world feels mean." He smiled softly. "That's when I knew I wanted to know the woman behind those raspberry croissants." They turned across the floor, and for the first time in her life, Violet felt weightless. Not because she'd lost pounds or changed her body, but because someone was seeing her, truly seeing her, beyond the flesh that had defined her existence for so long. As the waltz ended, Marcus didn't release her immediately. "This might be presumptuous," he said quietly, "but would you have dinner with me tomorrow? Somewhere quiet where we can actually talk?" Violet looked into his face, searching for the joke, the prank, the cruelty she'd learned to expect. But she found only sincerity and something that looked remarkably like hope. "Yes," she answered, her voice stronger now. "Tomorrow." Around them, the ballroom buzzed with shocked whispers. Sophia glared from across the room. Cameras flashed as society bloggers captured the unexpected moment, but Violet noticed none of it. For the first time, she was too busy living in the present to worry about the judgment of others. Her mother caught her eye from the edge of the dance floor, tears streaming down her face, smiling wider than Violet had seen in years. The weight Violet had carried for so long shifted imperceptibly. Not gone, but different. Lighter. Maybe, she thought as Marcus escorted her back to her mother, maybe she'd been carrying the wrong weight all along. Maybe the burden wasn't her body at all, but the cruelty of those who couldn't see past it. And maybe, just maybe, she was finally ready to set that burden down. Beyond the surface, the photograph went viral before Violet even woke up Sunday morning. Someone at the gala had captured the moment Marcus Ashford led her onto the dance floor, her emerald gown flowing, his hand at her waist, both of them looking at each other like the rest of the world had dissolved. By sunrise, it was everywhere. Millionaire Marcus Ashford's unexpected dance partner stuns charity gala. Tech mogul chooses curves over couture at foundation event. Who is the mystery woman who captured Marcus Ashford's attention? Violet sat at her small kitchen table, coffee growing cold in her hands, scrolling through her phone with mounting dread. The comments section was a battleground. Half the internet celebrated the moment. The other half tore her apart with vicious creativity. He must have lost a bet. Charity case at a charity event. How fitting. She's probably paying him for the publicity. He could have anyone and he picked that? Her mother placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Turn it off, baby. Those people don't matter." "But they're everywhere, Mama. What if Marcus sees this and realizes what a mistake he made? What if last night was just pity? Then he's not the man I thought he was when I watched him look at you." Diane took the phone and set it aside. "You have a date tonight." "That's real." "Everything else is just noise." Violet wanted to believe her. She spent the afternoon trying on and discarding every outfit she owned, finally settling on a simple burgundy dress that her mother had made last Christmas. It hugged her curves without apology, falling just below her knees. At 6 o'clock sharp, her doorbell rang. Violet opened it to find Marcus standing there in dark jeans and a crisp white button-down, holding a bouquet of wildflowers that looked like he'd picked them himself rather than purchased them from some expensive florist. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "You didn't have to come to the door. Most guys just text when they're outside." Marcus smiled. "I'm not most guys, and my mother would haunt me from her grave if I didn't walk a woman to my car properly." He drove them to a small Italian restaurant on the edge of town, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. Nothing fancy or showy. The owner, an elderly man named Giuseppe, greeted Marcus like family and showed them to a quiet corner booth. "No photographers here," Marcus explained as they settled in. "Giuseppe doesn't allow phones in his restaurant. Says they ruin the romance of good food." Violet relaxed slightly. "You've seen the posts, haven't you? About last night?" "I have." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry you're dealing with that garbage. People are cruel when they can hide behind screens. Aren't you worried about your reputation? Dating someone like me? Someone like you?" Marcus leaned forward, his amber eyes intense. "You mean someone talented, kind, and genuine?" "No, Violet. I'm not worried about my reputation. I'm worried you'll believe what strangers say instead of what I'm trying to show you." "And what are you trying to show me?" "That I've been coming to your bakery for 6 months, trying to work up the courage to ask you out. That I memorized your schedule so I could time my visits when you'd be at the counter. That I've probably eaten my body weight in raspberry croissants just for an excuse to see you smile. He reached across the table, his hand open and inviting. I'm trying to show you that what I feel has nothing to do with charity and everything to do with the fact that you're extraordinary. Violet placed her hand in his, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers. I don't understand why. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. I want someone real. Marcus's thumb traced gentle circles on her skin. Do you know what my life looks like, Violet? I'm surrounded by people who want my money, my connections, my influence. I haven't had a genuine conversation in years. Everyone performs, everyone poses. Then I walked into your bakery at 5 in the morning and heard you singing off-key while you kneaded dough. Despite herself, Violet laughed. You heard that? Every word. Some song about sunshine and happy days. Completely off-key and absolutely perfect. His smile was tender. That's when I knew. You weren't performing. You were just being yourself, creating something beautiful because it made you happy. I'd forgotten people like you existed. The waiter arrived with wine and menus. They ordered, Marcus asking Violet's preferences first, recommending dishes he thought she'd enjoy. The conversation flowed easily after that, ranging from childhood, memories to favorite books to dreams they'd shelved for. Practical reasons. Violet learned that Marcus had built his tech company from nothing after his parents died in a car accident when he was 22. He'd been lost, angry, drowning in grief until he channeled everything into creating software that helped hospitals coordinate organ transplants more efficiently. His foundation funded children's medical care because he'd watched his younger sister die of leukemia when he was 15. I learned young that life's too short to waste on shallow things, he said quietly. Beauty fades. Money comes and goes. But kindness, integrity, passion for your craft, those things are rare and precious. Violet told him about her father leaving, about years of mockery and isolation, about finding solace in baking because pastries never judged her. She spoke about her mother's strength, about building her small bakery from savings and determination, about the joy she felt when customers smiled at her creations, even if they couldn't smile at her. I've spent my whole life feeling invisible unless someone wanted to mock me, she admitted. So when someone like you looks at me the way you do, I keep waiting for the punchline. Marcus set down his wine glass, his expression serious. There is no punchline, Violet. I'm not here because I pity you, or because I'm trying to prove some point. I'm here because when you handed me that croissant 6 months ago and wished me a blessed day, you meant it. You looked me in the eye and saw me as a person, not a bank account. You have no idea how rare that is. I'm scared, Violet whispered. I'm scared of believing this is real and then waking up to find it was just a dream. Then let's be scared together. Marcus squeezed her hand. Because I'm terrified too. I'm scared of messing this up, of moving too fast or too slow, of saying the wrong thing. But I'd rather be scared and trying than safe and alone. They stayed until Giuseppe gently informed them he was closing. Outside, the evening air was cool and sweet with jasmine. Marcus walked Violet to his car, their hands linked naturally now, her earlier hesitation melting into comfortable intimacy. But as they approached his vehicle, a flash of light blinded them. Cameras clicked rapidly. A small crowd of photographers had somehow found them. Marcus! Is this your new girlfriend? What do you say to critics calling this relationship a publicity stunt? How long have you been seeing the baker? Violet froze, panic flooding her system. Marcus immediately stepped in front of her, his body a shield. Gentlemen, we're leaving. You got your photos. Now give the lady some space. One photographer, bolder than the rest, pushed closer. Come on, Marcus. People want to know. Is this real, or are you just making a statement about body positivity? Something in Marcus's expression turned dangerous. Let me be crystal clear. Violet is not a statement. She's not a publicity stunt or a social experiment. She's a brilliant, beautiful woman I'm privileged to spend time with. If you reduce her to her body size one more time, you'll be hearing from my lawyers about harassment. Are we understood? The photographer backed off. Marcus guided Violet to the car, his hand protective at her back. Once inside, he turned to her with concern. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I don't know how they found us. Violet's hands shook in her lap. This is going to be everywhere tomorrow. More comments, more judgment? Marcus, I don't know if I'm strong enough for this. You're stronger than you think. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. But you don't have to be strong alone. I'm with you. Whatever comes, we face it together. The next 2 weeks tested that promise. The media attention intensified. Gossip sites dissected every detail of Violet's life. Fashion bloggers posted comparison photos of Marcus's ex-girlfriends, all models and actresses, next to pictures of Violet, mocking the contrast. His business partner Brandon called multiple times, suggesting Marcus was damaging the company's image. Even strangers felt entitled to approach them in public with unsolicited opinions, but Marcus never wavered. When a tabloid published a particularly cruel article titled "Beauty and the Beast, Guess Which One's Which?", Marcus posted a response on social media that went viral for different reasons. I've dated conventionally beautiful women who made me feel empty. I've been with people society approved of who couldn't see past their own reflections. Violet Monroe is the most beautiful woman I've ever known, not despite her body, but because of who she is inside it. She's kind when the world is cruel. She's generous when she has every reason to be bitter. She creates joy for others even when she's hurting. If that's not beauty, I don't know what is. And if my loving her publicly makes people uncomfortable, then maybe they should examine their own prejudices instead of our relationship. The post was shared millions of times. Suddenly, the narrative began shifting. Other plus-sized women shared their own stories. People spoke up about the cruelty of diet culture and impossible beauty standards. Violet's Bakery saw a surge of supportive customers, many leaving notes thanking her for existing visibly, for not shrinking herself despite the pressure. But not everyone was pleased with this shift. Sophia Winters, Marcus's ex-girlfriend and the woman who'd mocked Violet at the gala, launched a more calculated attack. She gave an exclusive interview to a major magazine. "Marcus is going through something," Sophia said with false concern. "We dated for almost 2 years and I know him well. This isn't about love. It's about him working through his hero complex. He thinks he's saving this poor girl, but he's actually setting her up for heartbreak when he inevitably returns to reality. I care about Marcus too much to watch him make this mistake." The article included carefully selected photos of Marcus and Sophia together, looking like they'd stepped out of a romance movie. It questioned whether Marcus was truly happy or simply trapped by his own public declarations. It suggested Violet was opportunistic, using Marcus for money and fame. Violet read it alone in her apartment, each word a knife between her ribs. The old doubts came flooding back. What if Sophia was right? What if this was just Marcus trying to prove a point, and eventually he'd wake up and realize what everyone else saw, that Violet didn't belong in his world? When Marcus arrived for their date that evening, Violet was waiting with the magazine open on her coffee table. "Tell me the truth," she said before he could greet her. "Is this about proving something? About showing everyone you're different and progressive? Because if it is, I'd rather know now before I fall any deeper." Marcus stared at her, hurt flashing across his face. "You think I'm with you to make a statement?" "I don't know what to think anymore," Violet's voice broke. "Everyone keeps saying you're going to wake up one day and wonder what you were doing with someone like me. And maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just the project that makes you feel good about yourself." "Someone like you," Marcus repeated slowly. He stepped closer, his eyes blazing with emotion. "Do you want to know what someone like you means to me, Violet? It means someone who remembers how I take my coffee. Someone who texts me terrible puns in the middle of my meetings because she knows I need to laugh. Someone who looks at me and sees Marcus, not Marcus Ashford, the millionaire, or the philanthropist, or the prize. Just Marcus, the man who's terrified of thunder and can't whistle and still misses his mom every single day." He took her hands in his voice urgent and raw. "I have loved you since the day you gave that crying child a free cookie. I have loved you through every cruel comment and vicious article. I love the way you hum when you're concentrating, the way you bite your lip when you're nervous, the way you cry at dog adoption commercials. I love you, Violet. Not your body, not despite your body. I love you, all of you. And if you can't believe that, then Sophia wins. Then every cruel person who told you that you're not worthy of love wins." Tears streamed down Violet's face. "I'm so scared of losing you." "Then stop pushing me away." Marcus pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here, loving you loudly and publicly until you finally believe you deserve it." Violet kissed him then, desperate and believing, her hands fisting in his shirt, her heart finally cracking open to let in the truth she'd been fighting, that this man loved her, truly and completely. 3 months later, Marcus took Violet back to the Grand Meridian Hotel. The same ballroom where they'd first danced was set up for a private dinner, just the two of them, surrounded by candlelight and the same orchestra that had played that fateful waltz. "I wanted to recreate our beginning," Marcus explained as he led her to the center of the floor, "because this is where my life actually started." They danced, swaying gently to the music, Violet's head resting against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Then Marcus pulled back, his hand slipping into his pocket. "Violet Monroe, you are the bravest person I know. You exist in a world that tried to make you small and you refused. You create beauty and spread kindness even when people don't deserve it. You taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about finding someone perfectly real." He dropped to one knee, producing a simple platinum band with a single emerald. "Will you marry me?" Violet looked down at this extraordinary man kneeling before her, offering her not just his love but his name, his life, his future. She thought about the girl who'd been mocked and discarded, who'd believed she was unworthy of this kind of devotion. That girl was gone. In her place stood a woman who finally understood her own worth. "Yes," Violet said, her voice strong and sure. "Yes, I'll marry you." Marcus slipped the ring on her finger and stood, lifting her off the ground in a spinning embrace that made her laugh with pure joy. They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at Giuseppe's restaurant, surrounded by people who loved them genuinely. Violet wore a custom gown her mother made, her body celebrated rather than hidden, her smile radiant with happiness she'd stopped believing she could have. The photos went viral again, but this time the narrative was different. This time, people saw what Marcus had seen all along, a beautiful bride marrying the love of her life, body and soul intertwined, perfect in their imperfection. Violet's bakery expanded into a cafe, and she published a cookbook that became a bestseller. Marcus continued his foundation work with Violet beside him at every event, no longer hiding in corners but standing proudly as his partner. And every Thursday morning, Marcus still showed up at 5 a.m. for raspberry croissants, sitting at the counter while his wife worked, both of them knowing that the greatest love stories aren't about transformation, they're about recognition. Two souls seeing each other truly and choosing love anyway, or perhaps choosing love because of it.